What's happening, Who Dat Nation? Welcome into today's show. I'm your host, Trace Girouard. We have a very busy slate on today's channel. We're going to be talking some Derek Carr news. The Saints met with him. We're going to get into some updates around that situation. Next, could Leonard Fournette be headed home to Louisiana? He was released by the Buccaneers earlier this week, so we're going to talk about that. And then, of course, we also need to discuss Zeke because the Saints have a running back need. We have a whole lot to break down, but before we do, I want you to go down and subscribe so that way you don't miss a single thing around any Saints news, rumors, or updates. We're trying to get 25 new subscribers on this video alone. If we make that happen, the boss has said that I can make another video and put one out tomorrow. If it doesn't happen, I might not be able to put a video out tomorrow, and I also might have to delete the channel according to them. So don't make me do that. Help me out. Subscribe today. But let's talk Derek Carr. So the Saints have had a second meeting with quarterback Derek Carr, and this comes after they tried to go trade for him when he was still under contract with the Raiders. They met with him once. The trade did not go down. He's now met with the Jets. He's met with some other teams, and now that he's at the NFL scouting combine, he has met with the Jets and the Saints again. And according to reports, the meeting with the Saints actually went very, very well. So Carr is meeting with the Jets again at the scouting combine, and I believe it was today, on Wednesday, as I'm recording this video. But notably, as to consider, Dave Tepper of Carolina also met with Derek Carr, and they're going to be exploring all their options, obviously have a high draft pick, but it is worth noting the Saints are very much so in on the Derek Carr sweepstakes. And so this is a quarterback who comes in with a 60% completion percentage, 3,500 yards in the air, 24 touchdowns, 14 interceptions. And I was talking to my guy, producer Seeps, over here before we got this live started, and I wanted to just discuss the idea of, if Derek Carr comes to New Orleans, could that immediately elevate the Saints to the best team in the NFC South? And I really, really think it does. But Mike Garafolo is here to explain why it might not happen today. Nothing is imminent here, this coming in from Garafolo. Derek Carr would like to make his decision on his future before the negotiating period begins on March 13th. So some time between now and then, I expect Derek Carr to find his new home, and really right now, it's about fit. So as we're recording this, it is Wednesday, March 1st. So this means the tampering period for free agency begins March 13th. Free agency officially opens March 15th, but Derek Carr could sign at any point. It's one of those situations where the Saints could go get him and make a deal happen right now. But he's looking for a fit, and he knows that the money will come after. He's trying to find a place where he knows he can thrive. He can have good relationships with the team, with the fan base, connect to the culture, relationships with the coaching staff. And I think that these are all valuable things to consider whenever you're taking a new job in a new city, and really any situation, not just in football. So it's interesting to see that he's really hitting on the idea of having a good fit rather than being like, I want to go and just chase a bag and get as much money as I can. I think the Saints, for that reason, could still be a very big reason, or a very big favorite for Derek Carr. And I really do think it does come down to the Jets and the Saints. I think the Panthers are going to address their quarterback need in the NFL draft. I could see them either taking one with their original pick or potentially even moving up to go get a Bryce Young or a CJ Stroud or an Anthony Richardson, Will Levis, whoever they desire and whoever they want. I could see them taking one of those guys. But I do think that if Aaron Rodgers decides he's going to go to the Las Vegas Raiders, I believe that it's going to come down to the Jets and the Saints. And at that point, the Jets could 100% outbid the Saints, but the Saints, I think, have a better culture fit, which makes my last point a little bit more interesting. But I do still think, regardless of what you do in the quarterback situation this offseason, whether you bring in Derek Carr, whether you go get a guy like Baker Mayfield, whether you run it back with Jameis Winston, bring back Andy Dalton, you say screw it and you go Taysom Hill altogether, I think you still go and draft a quarterback this year. And I'm not saying you go and draft one in the 6th, 7th round. I'm not saying you go get a Jaren Hall in the 5th, and I'm not saying that he's not a good quarterback, But what I'm saying is you go still prioritize that and go get a Hendon Hooker, a Jake Haener. If you can get a guy like Anthony Richardson, a Will Levis, one of these guys you need to try and go get because the future is just as important as right now, if not more. But I want you to let me know, Who Dat Nation, pick a quarterback. So these are just some of the situations, some of the ideas that have been floated around in Saints media, in Saints podcasts, blogs, all sorts of stuff. Derek Carr, obviously, a very big reason or a very big tie. Jameis Winston still under contract. He is still, and he said the other day, I'm not a free agent yet. He's preparing to still potentially come back to be a Saint. Taysom Hill has had some great reps as a quarterback. He has done some pretty impressive things as a quarterback, but I don't know if he's necessarily a full-time starting quarterback. Baker Mayfield has been linked to the Saints in free agency if some of these other guys don't work out because he could be pretty cheap. But I also gave you guys the option of other. Let me know. Pick a quarterback. Type DC, JW, TH, BM, or O. Let me know in the comment section. I'll be looking for your comments, and I'll be interacting with you as soon as I can. All right. This might upset some people. Let's talk Leonard Fournette because Lenny is on the market. Could Louisiana Lenny be headed home after the Buccaneers released Fournette? And they haven't released him, but they notified the league that they will be releasing him on March 15th. So he'll be a free agent. Last season, the Bucs re-signed him to a 3-year, $21 million contract, which is hilarious because the Bucs are in cap hell. Everyone's saying the Saints are in cap hell, but nobody's talking about just how bad the Bucs are. And honestly, F the Bucs. Type FTB if you hate the Buccaneers as well. But the former LSU and St. Augustine legend could fill a need at running back that the Saints currently have and that they will have next season. And I think that Leonard Fournette is a guy that you might want to think about. On 189 carries, 668 yards, 3 touchdowns on the ground, 73 receptions for 523 yards, and 3 touchdowns in the air. I think that Leonard Fournette, unfortunately, is a little bit washed. That being said, when you take a look at the current running back depth chart, the only guy who isn't 100% washed on this depth chart, or at least, that's not very fair to say. Alvin Kamara is not washed. He's kind of getting to a point where he's getting a little bit older, might expect a little bit more money, obviously has a suspension. Mark Ingram, he's old, he is washed. We can't ignore it. I love Mark Ingram. I think he's a legend, but he is just old, and it is time for him to hang it up. Dwayne Washington, David Johnson, Eno Benjamin, Adam Prentice. My point being, you could do a hell of a lot worse. And I think at the end of the day, the idea of bringing Leonard Fournette in would be a lot of fun. It would be a homegrown Louisiana guy. It would be really cool to see him rock the black and gold. And I think that he could honestly be a valuable member of the offense. I just would rather go younger and cheaper at running back. I'd rather address that in the draft with a guy like Tyjae Spears late in the draft, or you can even get somebody early like a Bijan Robinson and Jahmyr Gibbs. I also believe that you could address it in free agency with another running back like a David Montgomery or a Miles Sanders if you really wanted to ball out. I think that the idea of it is more fun than the actual execution of me bringing him in and seeing it happen. That being said, if the Saints do bring Leonard Fournette in and he blows it up and he is incredible, I will be the first to admit I was wrong, and I'll be the first to admit that, hey, it happens. People have takes and sometimes they're incorrect, but I don't think that Leonard Fournette would be should be a big priority for the Saints this offseason. But the show is not about me. It's about the Who Dat Nation. I want you guys to let me know. Should the Saints bring Leonard Fournette, back to Louisiana? Type Y for yes. Type in for no. And while you're down there, I'm going to have the link to our Saints jerseys in the comment section and the description of this video. You can get it at chatsports.com/Saints jerseys. Get hooked up with a Chris Olave, Cameron Jordan, Tyrann Mathieu, Taysom Hill, Rashid Shaheed, Drew Brees. Whatever you want, you can go get at chatsports.com/Saints jerseys. Get geared up in the offseason because no better time to get geared up to have it ready for the regular season so you can be repping it whenever the Saints are playing. All right. Now, let's talk Ezekiel Elliott. And this is kind of one that this is an idea, and this is a subject that I haven't really seen much coverage of. I haven't seen anybody really talk about, could Zeke come to New Orleans and be somebody who could fill that running back 2 spot and fill in for Alvin Kamara while he faces a suspension. The Cowboys realistically could move on from Ezekiel Elliott. And that is not something that is just, maybe it hasn't. It's a very real possibility because they might want to bring back a guy like Tony Pollard, who is a free agent, who Tom Downey, our Cowboys host here at Chat Sports, believes the Cowboys are going to franchise tag. And I think that that's a pretty good possibility that happens as well. And also Dov Kleiman adding this. He said the Cowboys aren't ruling out the possibility of drafting a running back in the first round of the draft, according to Stephen Jones. I don't know, man. I don't know. It's kind of interesting. Obviously, I don't think that that Zeke would be the best option for the Saints. But if he moves on, at one point in time, Zeke was a dog. But he is not a dog that much anymore, I guess you could say. It also doesn't help that he splits a lot of carries and splits a lot of touches with Tony Pollard. In 15 games played this year, had 231 carries, 876 yards, 12 touchdowns, and then the receiving numbers really not impressive. Zeke was good, and he was a dog, and I think that honestly with a good 1-2 punch with him and Alvin Kamara, it could be interesting. It definitely could work, but I would rather, like I said, go and address this in the draft. This running back draft class is loaded. You have a lot of premier talent that's going to go early in the first and second rounds. And then you also have a lot of depth talent in the later rounds that you can go get. I mean, take a look at the top 5 guys in the top 5 running backs in this draft class. Bijan Robinson, Jahmyr Gibbs, Devin Achane, Zach Charbonnet, and Tank Bigsby, all great running backs. And then you also have Deuce McBride out of Kansas State. Go get another Deuce. That'd be kind of cool. And then you also have, like I said, Tyjae Spears. There's a lot of really talented running backs in this class. I think you go and do that, take that route to build in the running back room rather than bringing in an older and worn down veteran like Zeke or Leonard Fournette for that matter. But I want you guys to let me know what running back do you want the Saints to add? And it doesn't matter whether it's free agency, draft, trade. I don't care how it is. It can be as cool. It can be as realistic, unrealistic, as crazy as you want it to be. I don't care. I want you to let me know what running back do you want the Saints to add during this offseason. And also, guys, for more Saints news and rumors and coverage, please feel free to hit me up on Twitter and Instagram. I'll have the links to my page or to my pages in the comment section and in the description of this video. I love chopping it up with the Who Dat Nation. Appreciate you guys for hanging out and tuning in today. Y'all stay golden. We'll catch you next time. Have a good day.